The Fulton Baptist Temple thanks each of you for inviting us into your home. During the past 2 weeks, we have had a number of technical issues in the live broadcast of our 10:30 service. We are excited about this new format for our 10:30 Sunday morning connection. Let me review. We will continue to have a live church service with preaching and music at 9:15 each Sunday morning. Following that service, we will provide a pre-recorded program that involves a stirring testimony with a discussion guide, inspirational music, and a gospel presentation. This will be a great opportunity for each family to have interaction. It can also be something to send to the people you think would want to hear the word of encouragement. Remember, every Sunday there is a live church service at 9:15, followed by a specially prepared recorded program. Please visit us at fultonbaptist.org and, of course, on Facebook. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. God bless you.
I saw myself hanging onto her casket. I saw myself being buried with her. Well, I think fear has always been one of those things that I've had to constantly battle with. Growing up, being at church and going to a Christian school, there was a solid foundation of faith, but there was always this, gnawing in the back of my mind, is God with me, or is God gonna leave me because of my mistakes? Am I really unconditionally loved? Is there a limit to this love, and what are the limits? I'd wake up my dad in the middle of the night and say, "Dad, I need you to pray with me." He asked me, "What's going on?" I would never tell him. I would never tell him out of fear. What if I reveal what's going on in my head, the craziness of these thoughts? This progressively went on for years. Into my 20s, I met a girl named Sophia. She was born with a heart condition. She had endured the surgery when she was young, and I thought it was fixed. Little did I know that in our first year of marriage that we'd be in the hospital together because her heart would beat around 200 times a minute. And that's when the doctor dropped the news on us. We were both 24 years old, and they said, "We have to have another heart surgery." Both of us cried in the office because we didn't know how to take this news. And it was in that moment we were determined to just believe God to see a miracle. The ministry we went to, we saw supernatural things. We saw God healing people from sicknesses like that. Not everyone, but we saw enough to say, hey, we want a piece of this. We would have scripture verses posted everywhere inside our house. You'd wake up in the morning, the little apartment that we had, right on the mirror that you'd look into in the morning had a scripture verse about God's healing. You'd open up the refrigerator, the very first thing you do in the morning, you'd see another scripture talking about that Jesus, everywhere he went, people were healed and set free and delivered. We had scriptures everywhere. We had belief. We had faith. It was about 4 years into the process that I remember walking into the hospital. And I remember just sitting there saying, God, why? Why are we here? Why are we going through this? I thought you had all power. I thought you could do all things, and we're here in this surgery room, getting ready to have an open heart surgery. And after the first day of surgery, the surgery was not successful. They said, you need to get down here. She's not gonna make it. You need to say goodbye to her. And I literally yelled. They gave me a private room, and I yelled at a lot of them like, God, you have to save her. You have to heal her. You have to. You cannot leave me alone like this. And I remember it got to the point where she was gone. I just felt like it's such a complete loss. And once again, that old familiar thing of fear came back into my life. This time, because she ended up passing away, I literally felt in my heart like God's mad at me. And it's interesting, in one moment of loss or one moment of disappointment, especially disappointment, when you had all your hopes set into God's gonna do it this way, I just know he is because he's a good God. And I guess we translate that, he's a good God, so he's gonna do what I think is good for my life. And that's heal my wife or not let her die. It was the exact opposite. I didn't know how to embrace this moment. The funeral, there was such a numbness on me that I couldn't cry a tear. Everything that I had in me was literally drained. She was an avid American Idol watcher. I made a promised Emma, I said, I'm gonna go try out for this TV show. Little did I know that when I would try out for the show, it'd be 1 month exactly after when she passed away. I remember standing in those lines, I remember tears falling down my eyes because one moment I was happy, excited, like this could be a possibility where something good could happen, but the other thing inside of me was like, how am I gonna live life, this new chapter without her? There were several audition processes. The very first audition, I made it through. I remember going to my next auditions in October, and I remember feeling such a depression to the point where Hollywood Week came. I'm in my hotel room, and I'm not even sleeping at night because I'm dealing with these debilitating thoughts again. God, are you with me? Are you with me? I remember even to the point where you could do all things, and we're here in this surgery room. You have to. Getting ready to. You cannot leave me alone like this. You can't. It is obsessive compulsive thinking. It would just ride on my fears, and it would just increase and increase and increase and increase to the point where when I finally made it to top 50, I literally looked at God and said, I don't know what's going on here, but I do not want to go on this TV show. I'm a mess, and I'm gonna look like a mess in front of all these people. There was this verse that kept coming around. I mean, it was coming in the most random places. It was Psalm 46:10. And it said, be still and know that I'm God. What does this mean? Do I just need to just calm myself down and say, you are God? I literally would try that, and yet nothing would work. As I looked into the Hebrew of this verse, when it says, be still and know that I'm God, it says, stop striving, stop fighting, let go, cause yourself to let go. I saw myself back in that moment, as they're burying my first wife, I saw myself hanging onto her casket. I saw myself being buried with her. And something began to happen. Every time the anger would come back about the why or the questions, I would just tell myself, no, I forced myself, I caused myself to let it go. And it was almost like God pulled this cork out of my heart, and these negative emotions, the bitterness just drained through. Little did I know that my grip hanging on to the things I didn't understand, to the things I felt justified in, were the very things that were pulling me down. But once I let my grip go, once I let it go, God answered my prayer. I didn't want to go into American Idol, but at this point, God reinvigorated my soul with life again. There were so many people who had written me on social media and wrote me letters. There were several stories of people who were going to take their life. Literally, one lady said she was going to take her life, but she heard my story on American Idol. She heard me crying in a different room, and she decided to put her gun down and to give her life to the Lord. It was story after story. I was happy. I took third place. Did I win? No. But you got to understand, this guy who came from such a small nothingness now had this opportunity. Now did things get way better after that? They did, and then they didn't. I ended up getting dropped from my first record label. But in that time, God whispered that music wasn't over. I got remarried. I met my second wife, Leah Sett, the unexpected chapter of my life. And it was about 5 years after American Idol. In the most unlikely places, I had a record label ended up signing me. And it was several years after American Idol that I started seeing the success of my music. I started having kids. I just started seeing more and more doors open up. I don't want to stop yet. You know, as a young kid, I didn't believe Christ was enough. I believe it was Christ, plus now I got to do X, Y, and Z. One of the most profound things that I've learned in my walk with Christ is that He is enough. I lean towards Jesus more than ever before. I wish I could say that it was a complete change, but it's a slow by slow change. And it's just an everyday getting up and moving forward. My name is Danny Gokey, and I am second.
Have you been praying and you still have no answers? Have you been pouring out your heart for so many years? Have you been hoping that things would have changed by now? Have you cried all the faith you have through so many tears? Don't forget the things that He has done before, and remember He can do it all. It's like the brightest sunrise, waiting on the other side of the darkest night. Don't ever lose hope, hold on and believe. Maybe you just haven't seen it, just haven't seen it yet. You're closer than you think you are, only moment from the break of dawn. All his promises are just up ahead. Maybe you just haven't seen it, just haven't seen it yet.
If you read the news, scroll through your Facebook feed, or just look at the relationships around you, it's pretty clear we live in a broken world. There's a lot of death, a lot of disease, and dysfunction. But we also see traces of beauty. We see beauty in nature, art, and in love. That's because God's design was perfect when He made everything. God loved us. We loved Him. We loved each other. There was no death, disease, suffering, or broken relationships. Things were perfect. But starting with the first people, we as humans decided to go our own way. We put ourselves first and separated ourselves from God. The Bible calls this sin. In doing this, we left God's perfect design. This brought death, disease, and dysfunction into our world and our lives. Yet, we don't like to be in brokenness, so we try to get out. We try to be first by climbing the ladder of success at work or school. Maybe that will get us out. Sometimes we try to get out by doing good things or being religious or going to church and helping people. Sometimes we try to drown out the brokenness by drugs, alcohol, or attempts at suicide or self-harm. Sometimes we even try relationships. These attempts at getting out of brokenness ourselves end up snapping us back in like a bungee cord. But God loved us so much that He didn't want us to stay in the brokenness caused by our weaknesses, failures, or mistakes, these things that the Bible calls sin. So he did for us what we could not do for ourselves. He provided the only way out, and that is through his Son, Jesus. You see, Jesus came down to our world and allowed himself to be killed on a cross, taking on our mistakes and weaknesses. And 3 days later, he rose from the dead. God said that if you turn from your ways and believe that Jesus died on the cross for you, if you believe he rose from the dead, then you will be forgiven. God can give you a new life and a relationship with him that puts you on a path towards his design for your life. Now I want to ask you, which of these two would you say that you are in? Are you in brokenness or God's design? If you're in brokenness, is there anything that keeps you from turning from your ways, from believing in Jesus and making him first in your life? If you'd like to be forgiven and start down that path of a new life, you can talk with God right now. God offers forever life to any who asks and believes in Jesus and all he did. Begin that journey today by telling him, I am second. You are first. If you've just now decided to put Jesus first in your life, we want to celebrate with you. Let us know about your decision, and we'll send you info about how to live second.